Welcome to the LongBox Paradox. I'm Dan. This week we have, I'd call a decent week of new releases. We're going to start out with Ice Cream Man from Image Comics. Ice Cream Man is kind of an anthology horror, but with the Ice Cream Man, who's also a little bit demonic, being kind of like the crypt keeper of it. He always is walking through these terrible things happen and kind of setting it up. Even from the first issue. This issue in particular goes through the backstory of the Ice Cream Man, and he has an opposite who's kind of like a cowboy, kind of almost like the Man in Black, and Roland, sort of, not quite. Their family, the Ice Cream Man, or Ricardus as he's known as, he creates these monstrous like spiders. In this story, he has a lot of spiders he's creating, and they get bigger and bigger, while his opposite is kind of a cowboy. He's got a dog he calls Mutt, and he's killing the spiders. He's the yin to the yang. And they end up meeting at their uncle's house, who's telling them they need to move on to the next world and follow these rules. And the uncle says that he wants to talk to Ricardus, and the good guy, cowboy, I forget his name at this time. It's 3:30 in the morning here, so it's a little rough with memory right now. Anyway, he goes and his dog gets called away, and he wakes up, he's looking for the dog, and he finds Ricardus wearing his dog's fur on his head, and finds out the uncle has been killed by Ricardus, by a giant spider that he goes and kills. It sets up all the cards on the table with how this story is going to move on. Finally, we're seeing that there's a bigger story at play and how it's going to interact from now on, because they just introduced an older version of the cowboy, I want to say in issue 8. So it's good to see that everything's kind of coming together, because before it was like a Tales of Terror where every issue something horrible happens, and see the smiling Ice Cream Man sometimes, you know, showing off these like sharp teeth or like demonic looks. I've liked this series since it started. Buy it, check it out. Again, there's not enough horror books out there right now, so when we get something, it's always good to kind of at least give it a look. I think the trade is out, or should be out. The first issue kind of climbed up in value recently. So yeah, buy it. It's on my buy list. You can pick up the story pretty easily, even if you just pick up this issue. Moving forward, I think it's gonna more spiral out of this. So next, we're gonna move on to Fight Club 3, number 1. I had read Fight Club 2 from Dark Horse, and I'm not fresh on it, so I need to go back and read it, because this book kind of picked up where you didn't really have to read it, but there's a lot going on. There's an art sale. Our narrator, who was the Ed Norton character, he is trying to find a job. He's talking to his wife. A woman's picking up on him at the airport, and the Tyler Durden personality is still kind of taking over. If you haven't read part 2, he has a son who's also kind of more Tyler's son. It's really convoluted. David Mack did the cover, at least for the one I picked up. I believe there's a Duncan Fregendo cover as well, and it's one other. Palahniuk is actually writing these comics. If you like his writing, or if you're just into the whole Fight Club thing, definitely pick up Fight Club 2 before you pick this up. I think it's necessary. It's very necessary. So check Amazon, or go to your local comic store and see if they have it in stock, or can order it, or get it digitally. There was a ton going on in it. Fight Club 2 is really good. There was a real meta issue of it where Chuck Palahniuk's actually in it. So I wish I had more to say about it, but I love Chuck Palahniuk's writing, and I love the whole story of Fight Club and the very meta concepts of it. This is a buy for me. And now we're going to move on to a comic that I'm so all over the place on. Heroes in Crisis #5 came out, and I'm just going to flat out say it now. I'm off this book. I can't do it anymore. I'll trade wait. I've put way too much money into it, and I just can't anymore. The writing bothers me. The constant having to deconstruct our heroes by King is just annoying at this point. I had too much of it on the regular Batman title. Again, this is my whole prerogative on it. If you like the book, don't let me ruin it for you. I will say that right off the bat on this issue, I was very happy to see Booster Gold and Blue Beetle together. From the old Justice League, by, I want to say, J.M. DeMatteis, and then Giffen. Those were my favorite years of Justice League. I mean, the Guy Gardner one punch from Batman. Blue Beetle, just him and Booster are always kind of the lovable losers. So in here, they're having a beer, trying to figure out what to do. Booster comes up with this dumb idea that he's going to break into Flash's lab and steal his notes so they can find out what he's seen from the crime. And then we go into more of Tom King treating Batman like he's an idiot, where he meets up with Barbara Gordon and he brings Skeets with him, and she talks him into giving her Skeets and saying that she has this algorithm that can hook up to it. If Batman wouldn't know if she could do that or not, and if he couldn't do it, why would she? But that's a whole other weird rabbit hole to go down that I just can't do right now. So she gets Skeets, she ties him up at this playground, and Harley comes out and threatens to hit him with the hammer to get this tracer of where Booster is, because they figured out that he could. There's more of the testimonials, and Booster, him and Blue Beetle are going through it, and he talks about this RNA where they can tell, and he has this breakthrough on Wally's body, is something he noticed. And as that happens, Barbara and Harley break in, and then we just go to this testimonial with Harley, which this probably was my favorite part of the book, because I get sick and tired of seeing people saying that they're girls saying they're the Harley and they're looking for their Joker. She goes into the abusive part of the relationship, and I give credit to Tom King on this, that I think they dance around it too much in a lot of books, and they went for it at the end of this book, and I'm glad they did. Unfortunately, there's just so much chuff in there, but there's beautiful Clay Mann art in this that I really thought was wonderful. Just fantastic. But again, this is a hard pass for me. I will buy the trade at the end just to see where it goes. I'm sure people will spoil it for me before it comes to the end, but I just can't plunk down my money on this anymore. I had to draw the line like I did with the regular Batman title, and that's kind of disappointing for me, but I had to do it. So some covers this week that I liked or picked up. The G. Willow Wilson run on Wonder Woman had a beautiful variant cover this week that I'm a horrible person and I did not take a note of who the artist was. I will post the cover here. Then Art Germ had a cover for Batgirl that I also picked up. And on the note of Art Germ, he has an exclusive coming out for Detective 1000 that I think might be exclusive through his store. I'm not 100% sure yet. I just saw the cover art. I also say this with a warning. buy it if you like his art, because Detective 1000, if you're thinking you're going to spec on it, you're very sad. There's a ton of variants coming out. The print run's gigantic, and I think it's a $9.99 book too, so the price point's a little harsh. So you might, I don't recommend trying to spec it. You may get lucky here and there, but only buy the covers you like. And I also saw an upcoming cover for Batgirl by Derek Chu. I'm quickly becoming a fan of Derek Chu after now seeing this cover after the Harley Quinn from the last previews or Final Order cutoff. So with that, I think that's going to wrap it up. Was not a heavy week for me read-wise. I kind of just curated what was really hitting me at the moment. Heroes in Crisis was one I was hoping was going to turn and get a little better for me, and it had the opposite effect. It pains me to have Bat titles where I'm just empty and apathetic when I read them because it's my favorite character, and then I have a book with Blue Beetle and Booster Gold with Batman, and I just can't dig it. It's bothersome. But I will recommend that something that I'm really vibing on is Deadly Class on Sci-Fi. 2 episodes in, I haven't watched tonight's episode because I've been at work all night, but just fantastic. Between the casting, their writing, and the keeping with the vibe and the emotions of the book, I can't get enough of it. I did see that some great fanboys decided to ruin only show watchers and just start spoiling the shit out of everything, but it is what it is. Dicks are gonna be dicks, and you just kind of gotta live with it. Anyway, I'd like to thank you for taking the time to watch this. Like, comment, subscribe, tell me what you think of some of these books. Recommend some books to me if I'm not reading it, or if you'd like to see me break down. Anyway, thank you, good night, and farewell.